Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of The Stash Report from The Stash Project. Today is April 1st, 2019, and no fooling here. Alright, so I hate April Fool's jokes. It's only so many times that you can have some bad joke, reposted on Facebook. So I guess I don't hate it. Just, I'm supposed to fly today. My flight's already been canceled. I'm not in a jokey mood. So, deal with it. We don't have anything on the announcement side of things. There have been no new announcements that I'm aware of, anyway, for this week, as we are sort of idling into that little dead zone right before the Shizuka show information comes out. So that may be next episode. That may be the episode after that, but it should be relatively soon. So far, Fujimi hasn't announced their June stuff other than a couple of sets of wheels that I'm not going to go into right now because I just want to talk about all their stuff at once. And we're waiting on Hasegawa and whatnot for their show stuff, because at this point, Hasegawa usually does their announcements on the first of the month, but they're probably holding on to them until later this month, when they can just, everybody dumps all of the stuff they're going to talk about the show, and we'll get Aoshima stuff for later this summer, and Hasegawa stuff through the summer, and we know what Tamiya's Kits is the TSO50 and whatnot, so nothing new there. On the aftermarket front, we saw the release of the Studio Choice 7 decals for, I believe it's the Motorcraft version of the Ford GTLM, as well as their photo etch set for the Ford GTLM. So for people who are waiting for a photo etch set to go with either the Shunko decals or the Racing Decal 43 decals or the Studio 27 decals or one of the various slot car manufacturers decals, that photo etch set is now out and available as well. So that pretty much covers, the first half of the show. We're talking about new stuff because there really isn't anything else to talk about. So we have kit releases from at least 3 manufacturers here. As I look at it, technically, I guess it's 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, yes. And there are a couple of modified reissues in this, and then everything else is just a straight reissue, if you will. So first up, from overseas, I couldn't get a good picture of this, so I'm just using Belkit's image that they uploaded to Facebook, and it is this version of the 2017 World Rally Championship. Ford Fiesta RS has been released. It is the Tour de Course version with Ott Tenak and Martin of the Yarviola as your navigator. The MSRT version. I've seen some people I've seen some people talk about why this livery isn't a different rally, and then it looks like to me the next release after this is going to be the Citroen, the modern Citroen rally car that Sebastian Loeb drove in 2017, and they're also going to be doing a 2018 version of it. And I've seen the same comments on Belkit's Facebook page, because I was on there today getting that image of why don't you use this rally? Why don't you use this driver? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Well, first of all, there is a really, really super active aftermarket for rally in general. There's already probably between I can't think of what the heck the one rally company is called. It's it was Rege, and there's Deckelkos and all those people. But there's another. It's a MF Zone, I think it is, or MZ Zone or something like that. The name is. I just saw it earlier today, and it's just like in there, out the other side kind of thing. That does rally conversions and rally decals and things like that. They've announced several sheets for this. I believe Rege's already announced one sheet for this. So it's like, if you don't have the right Ford Fiesta livery, chances are it'll be out any day now. Beyond that, you have to consider when these kits are planned and when the licensing was agreed to. For things like, well, why is Sebastian Loeb's car the Mexico Rally and not the Rally Catalunya, which he actually won? You have to look at when that kit was developed and when the licensing was done. When that kit was developed and it was announced, Sebastian Loeb was literally, when that kit was announced, racing the Rally Mexico that weekend. There weren't even pictures of the car available yet. It was Sebastian Loeb's return to World Rally Championship. He had gone out of that. He was racing touring cars or sports cars or customer racing, however you want to look at it, for a while, and had been out of World Rally Championship. So that is why they chose that one. It was his re-entry into WRC. Plus, at that point, nobody knew he was going to win a race 6 months later. So to go back and now try to renegotiate licensing for a different rally with different car sponsors and all that, then the project doesn't happen, right? Because you're talking about delays, you're talking about additional costs, and things of that nature. You see the same thing with the 2018 version. Why didn't you do so-and-so? They were the top finishing Citroen driver for 2018. Well, when that kit was announced and developed in late 2017, mid 2017, I guess it would be at this point, that kit, nobody knew who the top driver of 2018 was going to be. 2018 had just barely started or was yet to come. I can't remember exactly when those Citroen kits were announced. I could probably go look, but it's not really relevant, specifically to the point. The general gist, of course, is you can't do a kit for something that you couldn't predict. They chose who was probably more likely the most popular Citroen driver from 2017 going into the 2018 season, and that's who it was. It's just is what it is. Fighting about it now, again, like I said, it's just one of those things where, okay, let's stop what we're doing. Go see if there's other parts we need to create for this kit, because maybe that driver uses a different kind of racing seat. Maybe that driver uses a different racing setup. Now we're talking about whether we're doing a gravel car or a rally or an asphalt tarmac car now. It's just, I appreciate people's passions for the hobby. I really do. But unfortunately, every now and then you got to temper that passion with the realities of what business really is. And it's just not that easy to just snap your finger and change things when the kit's, already, in development. It would not terribly surprise me to see, maybe not Shizuka, but certainly before the end of the year, because I think that kit is supposed to come out in 2019 before the year is out, that we start seeing some test shots of it and things like that. It's, it's in development. You don't be like, wow, that was horrible grammar. You aren't like, okay, this is our kit coming out and we're done for another 6 months. We're going to wait and see how the market reacts to this, and then when things are over, we're going to go ahead and develop the next kit. Now you constantly have things in motion. Even you look at a tiny company starting up like Salvino's JR, regardless of what you think of their kits, good, bad, or otherwise, they did the Oldsmobile and they immediately had the Monte Carlo coming. You see them working on things for the old Monogram tooling. You see them working on engines for upcoming kits. You see them working on bodies for upcoming kits. They're constantly in motion. You constantly not so much have to have the next thing coming, because you don't want to oversaturate the market too terribly much all by clumping everything together and spitting it out all at one time, but you constantly have to have things in motion so that 6 months from now you have something else. Because if you have never ever noticed, modelers in general tend to be really, really impatient people in terms of like, hey, that kit was supposed to come out like 3 months ago. Where is it at? Riot, pitchforks and torches. So, be that as it may, that Belkit's Ford Fiesta is out. Over at Ebro, which is a name we do not mention very much on this show unless we're talking about how long it's been since this kit was announced, they released this week out of the blue, basically, because this was starting to get April announcements, or April release dates attached to it, which we didn't mention here because it has so many dates attached to it that I'm not mentioning it until it shows up, kind of thing. And that is the DS21. Most people seem to be of the opinion that, well, this was a very minor conversion and this, that, and the other thing. If nothing else, this has at least a new front piece to the mold, possibly a back piece. There's a reasonable possibility that this body shell is entirely new, because the original DS19, which, it's probably too far off camera for actually show, so I'm going to pick it up and show it to you. It has the integrated single beam headlights, right? The fenders are rounded with the headlights. I mean, the hood shape, the grill's a little bit bigger, but the hood shape's generally the same, the body's generally the same, although I think there's some differences to the rear end here. There's obviously a piece of side trim that's missing when you compare the two. There's a new set of wheels, or at least a new set of hubcaps that go with this on the DS21 that are not in here, blah, 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 on and on and on. There's all these little differences, but the main difference being that with the seal beam headlights that are on the DS21, that required an entirely new front end and entirely new fenders. So it's probably, might be entirely new body shell, which might explain why this is $75 in Japan, let alone what it's going to be when it gets over here. There's a new mirror, because I don't even think this car was required to have mirrors when the DS19 was run. I mean, there's no mirror shown on the box art. There may be one on the kit and I just don't realize it. But at any rate, there are a number of small changes that were done to this kit, yes, but it also, more than likely, unless that side trim on the car is separate, I don't actually have one, of the new ones, then there's an entirely new body shell in here. So it's a significantly modified reissue at this point. Is it long overdue? Yes. Have we been trailing around the built test shot for 2 years? Also yes, but it is out now, which should meant it showed up right when I couldn't. I was not about to shell out $75 for this model kit, so we'll have to reorder it sometime later. I assume it's $75. It's not exactly going to blow the doors off the building in terms of sales, so I'm not really too terribly worried about finding one later. But that kit is out finally. We'll see the Renault service truck, which is the Renault 4 Fourgonay with some extra parts, has not shown up as of yet, but it is supposedly has an April release, so maybe they will catch up with all of their 2-year outstanding model kits and get to dragging out the Volkswagen Combi for 18 months or so. That'll take us over to Fujimi for a quick stop. Their last kit of March was released last week, and that is this, the Toyota Crown 3.0 JZS 155 Royal Saloon G 3000 VVTi. Achoo, gesundheit. I'm assuming that's variable valve timing, and it's a 3.0, so that's what the 3000 about. It is a Royal Saloon, which is of course the whole Crown Royal and Crown Athlete thing. So this is a Crown Royal. It is the more luxury version of the two. I don't believe Fujimi did a Crown Athlete version of this kit. This would be one of those things that I would be basically beating the door down to Hobbylink Japan and demanding them hand the kit to me in person, had I not already tracked one down of the VIP car series that actually still has the factory stock wheels in it several years ago in Japan, off of Japan Yahoo Auctions. But for anybody else who happens to be interested in big four-door Japanese sedans, this kit has not been available since like 2002. So yeah, very interesting to see something, because we're seeing that Crown Majesta be reissued by Aoshima in June. Much love for the 1990s factory stock vehicles after not seeing them for 15 plus years in some cases. So that kit's back out there if you're interested in that. That'll take us to Aoshima, which had a couple of stock, field fillers, stock shelf stalkers. That's what I was trying to say there, and I got field stalkers out of it. So let's talk about those real quick first. You have the Lamborghini Aventador Super Veloce. That's come back out. Technically speaking, these are new in the sense that the more Grand Champion kits haven't been reissued in 15 plus years either. So you have the Nissan Cedric 330. I should believe it's a Nissan Gloria 330. Brougham. So that kit is back out with all of its small tires. The more Grand Champions, again, not nearly as wild and crazy as the Grand Champion series, a little more subdued on the custom side. And then this, you have the Toyota Soar V10, which is the first generation Soar. This one bringing back a little bit of the body kit type of thing. Looks like it has a set of Mark I wheels on there that are the full wheel covers. Definitely a more ground effecty car, and there aren't too many cars these days you would see painted a white pearl over a violet, fuchsia, cobalt blue type of color. So that kit is back out as well, and at this point that would be 12 of the 14 more Grand Champion kits that were made. So 2 more next month, and that series will be completely caught up for people who are fans of it. On the new kits, the stuff that they did that was new to the model car line this month specifically. One of those already been released, but the other 2 were done this month, and that is this, the 1983 Nissan Skyline 2000 Turbo RS, what is known as the Aero Custom. Now, I had this kit on my radar in terms of a pre-order, but I canceled it because you cannot build this kit without, and without, you could build this kit without just simply by taking them off. I didn't feel like dealing with that for a $18 reissue of a bad, what is ultimately a mediocre shelf model. But those front aero, whatever the heck you want to call them, shark fins that are on the front fenders are molded into the body. There are also sort of shark fins that go off of the C-pillar onto the trunk. Those are separate pieces, and I was hoping the hood pieces were also separate pieces, because I'd like to just have a Turbo RS83 Skyline, which doesn't have the whole iron mask front end on it. That was not to be. Apparently this is a package deal where if you got an RS Turbo Aero Custom, which was a package that was done by an outside company, but still nonetheless, you got the little front canard, you got the little side skirts, you got the little rear spat, you got the weird sort of multi rear spoiler thing, and you're stuck with them front shark fins. So ultimately did not end up getting this. I know a lot of people really won't care, and it's certainly not like a, oh, you don't want that kit kind of thing. I just personally don't. So I skipped that one. Also reissued in the end of March would be the Mitsubishi Pajero, which is, for once, not riddled with a gajillion names and numbers. It's just Pajero. This has 2 sets of wheels. It has a number of off-road parts, off-road lights, off-road front bumper, also with lights. So this comes with a great deal of options. Their Pajero is not a Montero, which is what the Tamiya kit can be built as, which is the left-hand drive version that was exported to the United States and other places. So this is only a JDM version. Also not a full detail kit like the Tamiya one was, but it's a fairly competent curbside, in line with their Hilux Surf and their Nissan Toronto and things like that from the early 1990s. So that's back out there if you're interested in that. I don't know how many people would be interested in that specifically because obviously the Mitsubishi Monteros from Tamiya were reissued like 3 years ago. So I don't know how many people were really beating down the door for that, but I guess they thought there were enough. And then the last kit we're going to talk about, and this is the last of the Aoshima kits from, actually, this would not be the last Aoshima kit from March because there's still one more. This is actually an Aoshima kit from, February or January that has been delayed, and that is the Initial D FD3S RX-7. I'm trying to think of who drove this car. I had it written down someplace, and then it was delayed, and I'm not sure. And we will find it on the quick and the cheap here, because I remember trying to find this before, and I could not. It is the Kyosuke Takahashi, and that was originally supposed to be a December kit that was delayed until March. And this is the Initial D Project D version. So finally got clarity on what the heck this was supposed to be in terms of like where it fits into the actual universe of Initial D, if you will. I was trying to think of what that term was in there. I was like, world, no. Marvel has a name for their stuff. It's Marvel Universe. Yes, the Initial D universe. So this car, while it didn't technically speaking like race in the series, the Project D A86 Truno, it is from that same comic series, the Project D series. So this kit is out. That we just talked about in the April compilation video. They're going to do an R34 from the Project D series as well. And then you'll, of course, have the original A86 Truno. So it should be interesting to see how many people collect this just on the basis of it being, like part of a series now rather than just a regular thing. There are 2 sprues worth of new parts to this, and basically the entire front end of it is new from the hood forward. So it's got a new front bumper, a new splitter, the canards are new, the mirrors are also new, the GT3 spoiler is new, there's a new rear diffuser. Basically the kit itself is the RE Amenia version of the RX-7, so the hood is the same, one of the headlights is the same. The passenger, would technically be the driver's side headlight in Japan, but we would call it the passenger side. The one on the right-hand side of the car is a new headlight bucket, because it has a air induction. It has a headlight beam and an air induction, and the other one is 2 headlight beams on the passenger side of the car. So that's a new piece, like 18, 20 pieces total, I would say, for this, to build this into this version of the car. So they're still getting some mileage out of their 1999 Toyota RX-7 kit, and so that's kind of fun to see. And yeah, that is finally out after what basically would amount to a 3-month delay at this point. So, at any rate, guys, I believe that wraps up this one. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys on the other side.